Hi everyone, how you doing?
Hi guys.
We're back with the wonderful Sarah McCartney, as you'll see. I can't see her right now because I've only got Dan and my heads in the screen, but I trust that she is there.
No, she is there. Yeah.
She's there.
I'm so here.
This is the trouble with a phone. My little phone doesn't show everyone. But yeah, we've sort of started the process, haven't we, of smelling options for the fragrance, for the waft.
But 8 options.
Eight wonderful options.
I think my only the only thing that kind of Sarah has kind of upset me a little bit is she's actually made this more difficult than I'd hoped. I think if we'd been sent 3, this would have been easier. But we've got
it's a good way to be upset though, isn't it? Because
to be overwhelmed.
We've got so much great choice here.
And so we did. Joe and I did record a little bit of our first impressions on their own. But I think what we concluded was that we couldn't really conclude anything.
That was our conclusion.
Yeah.
Although it was really useful for me, though, to hear what you said about it, completely blind, without me giving you great lists of what I'd done, just to dump them on you and see what happens. And remember, you can choose 2 or a combination of others. We still haven't covered the what if we add that to that. But because we have eau de parfum and we have a parfum option, so if you decided that one of them smelled just like the church on the way in and one smells more like the loft, and you went for those options, that's fine too. Just to make it even more confusing, I'm sorry.
Yeah, see
that's great.
What kind of surprised me it was not only were there 8 quite different fragrances, but I got the impression, I might be wrong, I got the impression you were aiming or thinking about different kind of elements of the loft. I got, as we were talking about it, there were some where I really got church pews, I got polished wood, there were some I got incense, whereas some I felt was, fragrances that we'd sprayed and it was the kind of keyboard of the organ. I felt there were quite different interpretations of the brief, for want of a better term.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we walked round, so it is the loft that I'm eventually aiming for, but we talked about the slippery algae on the step just before you come in with the stone, and then there's the initial incense blast as you walk through the door, and then there's the round the back where they store the incense, then there's up the stairs, and then there's round the back of the organ. And so I was blending different components of it to see, and then just partly you aim for something, but something else might always come out, no matter how much practice you've had. That can always happen. Plus, bearing in mind that we discussed the greenness that you liked, and also it had to have an element of dirty in it. So
yeah,
all those things, yes, all of those things.
Yeah.
But I love that there are relationships between fragrances there. I mean, for instance, I've got number 4. I don't know what number 4 is, but I've got number 4 on this hand, and I get something of the leathery thing. I was talking about like childhood memories of like beach balls and rubber dinghies and that sort of that rubbery leather. I'm getting an element of that which I had in number 1 now in number 4, which I didn't get before, but something in the dry down of that. So I mean, it's interesting that there's sort of DNA going on between them as well, but differences, and it's interesting to see, how subtle the differences are, how big they are, and what causes them. So I don't know if you have any insight into that, Sarah, in terms of what it is we're smelling that's related and not.
They are all related, and some more related than others. It keeps just kind of coming into my mind, well, it's all the same notes, not necessarily in the right order. So what I did was I originally made 4 blends, what we know as accords, which we think of as notes put together. We're making chords. So I made one called Waft Accord Incense, and that I made with rose and frankincense and oak moss. and osmanthus.
Oh,
It's interesting
I should
because
write some things
we
down.
didn't. I guess
I can send you all.
for our first kind of impressions, but we didn't really. You know, we talked about some notes, but we didn't. We certainly didn't talk about Rose, did we?
Well,
we didn't pick out any Rose.
no, but I don't mind that. I smell good. You know, when we kind of raided the we didn't raid, but we opened the cupboard to smell the incense in the cupboard. You know, there's a lot of rose incense in there. So what I did was I balanced the frankincense and the rose, I hope, in a way that gave extra richness to the frankincense. But I know it's in there, but I wouldn't necessarily want it come beating out you as a rosy heart.
That's so clever.
Oh, well, thank you. There's most of that one as a proportion in number 1. So, but that's one of the accords. I made one called the Ultimate Amber. That's not meaning to be at all boastful. But so that's labdanum, styrax, apoponax, veramos, antimonk moss, and oak wood and isobutyl quinolin, which makes leather.
Yeah.
Wait, but that's not your traditional amber, though, is it? With oak moss and
no, this is ultimate amber. It's
sure.
Sorry, you know, I jest. But we know how much we want oak moss in everything, so I just kept jamming it in. I made, there's number C. Oh, it's a greenery accord, because the light green thing, I did put the aldehyde C10 in there, because, you know, in our talk around at my place,
the
A word kept coming up. So for me, that's the garden just outside. So you come in the big door and you can go through to the little secret courtyard garden. So I built the greenery in there. Which one has the most greenery? Number 2. No, I lie. Greenery. Number 1 and number 4. All of this, you know, I don't expect you to remember all of this, but I can give you a detailed Excel spreadsheet should you wish. Then I made the Dirty Sweet accord, which is named after a line from the Prince song Cream. You dirty sweet and baby, you know it. You know it. So that's got patchouli. It's got my ambergris in it. Sorry. Don't get the virus. That's where the vanillin comes in. So that would be in that goes together with the labdanum to make amberiness. Boot tube, benzoin, tobacco absolute, black pepper, tonka, and a bit of indole just for dirty.
Which one was that in? Did you say?
That's in the Dirty Sweet is
that
in.
That must be in 2.
That is in
or
2.
7.
Some considerable amount. Let's have a look at them. Oh, now I see 6 and 7 are different. 6 and 7, I went what they call in the industry like bottom up. I just started putting individual. I missed our accords out of 6 and 7 and went for individual items again.
Okay, because I thought when I really liked 7, even though I found it quite different. The most difficult thing I found about all of this is I kind of tried a few, and you know, as you've seen the video, you probably said when we got to 2, we both really, really liked that. But then I found 7 very different, and I found and wearing them as well. But then I wondered if, because I liked there was a kind of dirtiness to 7.
Yeah, I found that.
Which
I've got it on now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 7's got civet in it.
Yes.
But then so has 6. And how do I make that dirty? Well, styrax, which yes, I put in some of the black agar, which if you do it right is dirty. Yeah, it really kind of surprised me today wearing 7, just quite how dirty it was, especially when you put it on straight away.
So I've done a bit of wearing 7 and 2, which I enjoyed a lot.
Together?
Yeah.
But at the same time, what, like on top of each other?
Spray. I mean, I don't imagine that's the way that you make
layered. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. Did you guess which one I'd actually put the real oud in? You know, I said I would give that one that was given to me by the person who works with.
Yeah, I wondered about 4.
No.
So I thought
5 and 6, but
I thought
there was something very dark in the heart of one of those.
5 felt it was like 5 felt it was more of a punchy oud, whereas 6 felt like a slightly softer. Like there was more. I found like a 6. I found it to be a bit more complicated than 5, but a bit subtler than 5.
Right. Well, I can 6. Well, it was 2 that actually has the genuine hyper expensive oud in.
Ah, okay.
I'm delighted you couldn't tell because I didn't really want to use it. But it doesn't have a safety certificate.
Okay. But it's interesting. But I didn't really. I mean, you saw our video when we talked about it, and we both got this kind of like real, like polished wood. I really thought of all the pews kind of like freshly polished.
I got a lot of tobacco in there as well with number 2.
Yeah.
Yes, number 2. Yeah, that does have tobacco in it, but then so the 3 and 4 and 5. Yeah, and
so what is it? 2. The 2. I've just sprayed it now, and this 2 just has for me this. It's for me 2 is still the one which really kind of smacks me around the face. It just makes me think, wow, there's this woody kind of caramelly, rich, ambery, sexy. It just I think of all of them, it's the one where it's just I go wow when I first spray it.
I like 2. It is also the one. It's none of my greenery accord in it. I have a strange relationship with green fragrances. And I don't mind. It depends how green is green, but I missed it out of that one just to see what happened. But I missed it out of 3 as well. Yeah,
I found
it's really good.
Your relationship to 2 as well. I thought was 3.
2
3
and
felt
3.
more boozy. 3 felt more like sort of boozy, sort of stewed fruit or something.
They're actually very, very similar. 3 has slightly more of the woods, but 2 has the oud. Apart from that, they're almost identical. That's the weird thing about it. It's a slightly different woods.
I found also, especially when I wore it on skin, I had a really interesting journey with 2.
Yep.
But then I did like it with a bit of filth of 7 added in.
It can't beat a bit of filth. Yes, 7. Yeah, 6 and 7. I put the white birch in because I knew you liked a bit of that, the whole burnt thing. But then again, there's white birch in the woods accord, so there's extra in that one.
Yeah.
What is it in 5 and 6 that give? Because I got the sort of the campfire sort of smokiness, but I got them in both 5 and 6 in a way that were quite similar.
Okay.
Different versions of. Sorry to jump around.
No, that's fine. It's a good thing I've got my book. Sneak look.
That's amazing, isn't it?
5. It's actually an Italian accounts book.
Nice.
That I get in Florence. Libro Casa, it says on it.
2.
5. What we're looking at, 5 and 6, was it, or 4 and 5? I've lost
5 and 6.
5 and 6. And what is it that gives it a? Oh, okay. So 5, I put in vetiver. So that is going to give you the burnt. Because the one that I use is a particularly smoky one. I got this one from Indonesia that's been a bit difficult to get hold of. So.
Oh, is that kind of nuttiness? Because I sometimes get a nuttiness with vetiver as well. And I think when we were talking about this, I said I kind of got a nutty, which I thought was oud, but maybe that's the vetiver. Weird, interesting.
Honestly, the amount of stuff that's in these, it's really difficult to say if there's one thing that's doing the thing.
Yeah.
Given that many of these materials are made of hundreds of different molecules made by trees, you just get 2 of them together and, something occurs.
That's the magic, isn't it?
That's what I hope. So, 6 has white birch, quite a chunk of it, but not vetiver. 5 has the vetiver, but, it could be the white birch plus tonka and styrax that's giving you.
Yeah. What I kind of liked with 1 and 8.
Yep.
Both of those, I feel like, got a really kind of bright flourish at the start of them.
Yeah.
And I found 8, almost all of them, 8 kind of changed a lot. I think it from that kind of like, and so in a way, 8 almost told the kind of the best story in terms of walking into the church, smelling the incense, then smelling the wood, then going into the organ loft, and so but I'm just wondering, because I feel 1 on its own feels like I've got the that kind of real brightness of the incense, and that kind of first smelling into the church, whereas 2 feels like later in the journey. And is there any way of combining 1 and 2, or is that too many things?
It's not too many things, because 1 and 2 have a lot in common, and it would just be a matter of...
It's funny you say that, because if I smell these 2, 1 and 2 smell very different to me.
Well,
I mean,
I'll tell you... Okay. Here's the difference. The reason that 1 is much more kind of bright and fresh and all of that is because, first of all, it's got the greenery accord that I put in.
Okay.
And second, in order to boost the greenery accord and make it extra fresh and light, I put hedione with it. Not a vast amount of it, but I put hedione to blow it out there. Hedione, for me, I think, if you take small, light, fresh molecules and put hedione behind them, they go, wah! You're on the very top manual of your organ here.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting, because as well, I had a day when I said to Joe, when I wore 1 on one hand, 2 on the other hand, and I felt that I think I only put 1 spray of each, but 1 felt like a bigger, it had more sillage, like it just felt like it was blooming a bit more than 2 on my skin with just 1 spray of each.
I found that.
Yeah. 2, no hedione, no greenery. A lot of other things in common, but then at the bottom end, I say bottom, but on the fixative and blender side of things, I used quite a heavy dose of cedar amber, which I love for its peppery incensiness, and so and timber silk, which is like the more intense version of Isoe Super. So rather than hedione to blast the top end, because I didn't put the greenery in, that is much more down the bottom. I could make 1 which is 1.5, which is halfway between the 2, which has they've got like 90% of materials in common. So we could make it 110. We could have the greenery and the hedione and the cedar amber and the timber silk.
Well, that's what I mean. This is kind of such a learning process of, as I said, I just sprayed 1 fragrance on top of the other, and I'm sure that's not how it's done. But I'm wondering if there's any chance that we can try, you know, a bit of 1 and 2 or a bit of 2 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yes.
I don't know what you think, Joe.
I'm just looking for.
Yeah. It would just be interesting to see how they combine. It's not even how they combine. It's more about how the concepts behind them combine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I mean, you know, it's never a case of just let's add 1 to 2, is it? But
sometimes it is
something about the origin. Yeah.
I mean, you'd be surprised. I mean, I think, you know, the whole mystery of perfume. I'm not very good at that. I'm too mathsy to get involved in the romance, but I get very excited about it, which is different. So yeah, 1 and 2 have a great deal in common. 7 is different, but you know, all of these, I can stick the formulas into the spreadsheet, and I can see that the difficult bit is what proportion you then add them in. You go like 1 of that and 1 of that, or you do 2 of those and 8 of these? But
yeah,
all of this is fine because the maths will come later. But you know, I have like this much of number 7 left, say, so I could take a gram of this and a gram of 2 and put them together and just see what happens.
Yeah.
Where there's some left. Actually, I made most of 8 because I think I thought I was going to like number 8 best.
Let me spray 8 again.
I say, I've just.
I really enjoyed 8. I found it had a real classic feel to it as well.
This is the one that's got everything and takes you on a walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what we said, you know, Joe, as we were trying it, that 8 was the kind of biggest, almost the biggest journey, wasn't it?
Yeah.
8 is good.
That's the one that. That's the one that has mushroom in it. Right. Mushroom absolute.
Yeah.
And white oud. That's one that's got the gaharu buaya, the white oud in it, and white birch.
I'm going to put some of that on my arm, actually.
Yeah, it's got.
It's really much. I really wish we just had 3 to choose from, because it's like
I'm sorry.
A candy store, and you know, you think, oh, I like everything, but we we need to leave the shop with just 1.
I thought. Oh, I did wonder if I ought to filter myself down, but I couldn't decide what to miss out.
No, I think it's great though, because it means that what we come up with will be more sort of filtered and more. You know, it would have been through more of a journey. I can't find 8, which is really annoying. Here it is. I was holding it.
Good. I mean, given that you did keep mentioning the J word when we first came round about the idea of it starting somewhere and taking you on a walk.
Yeah,
absolutely. I still feel that I have, whenever I keep trying this, I still have the kind of biggest emotional response to 2.
Yeah,
me too.
Although I think I made a note in my book, and when I watched your video of the 2 of you just talking about it, it was number 6 before we got an actual, oof, you know, the classic waft.
Yeah.
We got number 6.
Oh really?
But I do like 2. Are you sure
I've not worn 6 yet today.
All right, that's fair enough. Are you absolutely sure?
Yeah.
You just because I told you it had oud in it.
But you know, it is the one. It feels. Also, if we said in the video, I think it kind of feels immediately expensive. You know, and it's not because it's got anything to do, but that was one of my, you know, reactions. It does. There's something about it which just feels this kind of cloak of luxury.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
How much of that stuff do I actually have? Yeah.
Oh yeah, the mushroom actually in 8 is fantastic as well.
It's quite meaty. I don't use a lot. It's Boletus edulus mushroom absolute. And you don't use too much, otherwise it smells like gravy. So yeah. but it does give a really lovely richness.
Yeah. God. And almost like a smoky tea thing as well.
White birch.
Really interesting.
Probably. Yeah.
So what is next? I mean, is it possible to do?
Yeah, I make 1 + 2, and I make 2 + 7, and we see how that is.
Yeah.
You keep wearing them, and there's going to be a day where one tube runs out faster than the others, and you just go, oh, I want that one. I think.
It's such an interesting process.
It is, yeah.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. It could be just a film of us just going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but
I love them all. I would happily buy any of these. I smell number 3 now again, and I think, God, that's really fantastic.
I think that's the problem. There's nothing where I'm thinking, right, definitely not that. Yeah, I'm not.
No, they're all so interesting, and they're all beautiful, I think.
Well, as you said, it wasn't that I just wanted to go, right, here's your church. I have bottled your church for you, go. I wanted for it to be you chaps and what you enjoy, things that you spray, and the experience of turning up there and doing all the things that we do. So don't feel that you have to be obliged to pick the one that smells most like the church. Yeah. That it has to be the one that does make you go, ooh. And if that's 2, then let's see how 2 and 7 go, see how 1 and 2 go, combination of those.
I'm just spraying 7 now, and I really, when I wore 7, I really, really enjoyed the experience of wearing it. And it's weird that actually what you've just said, in a way, it doesn't. In a way, 7 is one of the ones that, for me, doesn't relate to the story quite so obviously as some of the other ones. Yet, I really, really love it.
Yeah. 7 was more like, thank you. 7 was actually, when I came to put 7 together, that was more like the list of the things that we went through at my place and discussed that you really enjoyed. Yeah. So it was not so much churchy as wafty.
Yeah. See, that's, I think, the important thing as well, that like you say, it's about us and the personality and the stuff that we've enjoyed and explored, more than just the physical space.
That's because I did wonder if we would end up with just these kind of incensey woody things, which were quite literal. And I was so surprised that none of them are like that. None of them are as straightforward as that.
Other people, I think, have done churches so well that what we don't want to come out there is go somebody saying, "Oh yeah, isn't that just like Anson's this, that, the other, and Anson's that, and somebody else's Anson's is better than this." Yeah. So there are a lot. So and only you and your church and the place across the road when you go for a glass of wine. 7 and 8, I put cognac oil in, which now hasn't to be called cognac. It must be called lit du vin or something, because the cognac people have kicked off. But I did put that. Yeah, like champagne. But yeah.
2, but then I come back to 2 and I just think, wow.
Ben.
I just get real polished choir stalls with 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't even think it's the oud in 2 that's doing it for us. I have to say, I think it's something else.
I honestly, even though you've said it, I can't honestly say I can pick out oud.
No. Well,
I think it's the tobacco-y woodsy thing in this that's.
So what is it? As it dried down as well, I got a real I did feel it went not to a bright green, but to a real dried green, kind of mossy green.
white. Just trying to work out where that came from. Mossy wood, because the nut woods. Well,
or patchouli or tobacco or something like.
Yeah, well, it's got a great stack of the dirty sweet in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah, quite a lot of patchouli. Well, isn't the butcher and the tobacco? They've got greenness.
Oh yeah, maybe it's tobacco. Yeah.
Yeah, it does still have a green aspect to me, even though you didn't put the greenery accord in this one. It's still the thing I got. I think I even said on the last time we smelt it that I got a real green tobacco. Yeah. Whatever that is.
Well, tobacco, absolutely. It smells more like fresh leaves than it does. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't smell like fag ash.
Yeah.
So, and the butcher used carefully, which it is, because it can just end up smelling like wine gums. So but that is kind of powerful, fresh green bodiness.
That's so good. It's a very interesting process.
Yeah, good. Right, down to me then to make sense of this page of figures, which I hope no one can do that.
Brilliant.
But yeah, and to come back with, I've just written down 2 equals wow on this.
Yeah.
And
we wholeheartedly agree.
Good.
But that's why I think in a way we've got to defy, not overthink it in a way. And I think we both had a big kind of emotional response to 2. And I keep getting that every time I go back to it. So as much as I can think, well, maybe, I don't know. I guess it's your job to make the magic happen and us to go, yes, it's magic.
Yeah. We just respond kind of with our guts, don't we?
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, of course, if it smells like completely different from what you were expecting, but it still makes you go, wow, then that's the one we go for.
Yeah.
Because from now onwards, that will be wafting from the loft. So, we define it.
Yeah.
Oh.
We're free. Right, so I've got a bit of work to do.
Amazing.
Okay.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been it's so kind of surprising as well. In a way, this is just not what I expected. I really expected to have 3 things and go, no, don't like those 2. I like that one. And in a way, I had 8 fragrances, which I didn't expect. I don't know.
Yeah.
From the things we smelt, it doesn't. I couldn't quite see how all of those things we said we liked would quite make up a fragrance. But somehow, all 8 of these are different to what I expected, but in many ways have surpassed what I expected as well.
I'll take that.
We should just do all 8 and then call the perfume on the 8th day. I'm sure that's in the Bible somewhere. But
we don't have to not. What we do have to do, what I have to do is produce 1 parfum and 1 eau de parfum and send it to the people who paid for it.
Yes.
Should we then offer them afterwards, if it doesn't feel like too much of a cheat, we then say, tell you what though, we've got all these other ones, you want some of them as well? We could have a waft a year until 2026 to this year, and then off we go. We've got 2 minutes 40 left.
Yeah, unless I upgrade to Pro. So that seems like a good point to
yeah. Well, I think I know what I have to do. I have to make some stuff, and then I have to send them to you. That's okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's so exciting.
And we'll just keep wearing them and sort of seeing what comes.
Yeah.
I still need to wear 5 properly. I wore it the other day on my hand, but I've not worn it.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's always a different thing as well. But I love them all actually.
Keep updating me. It's all fine. I've got to say, it's an absolute pleasure and a delight to be working with the pair of you on this, and I wouldn't say that out loud if it weren't true, which it is.
Oh, likewise, thank you.
But it's just a privilege, we're so lucky. It's kind of the kind of thing we always dreamed of happening, and now it's happening.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Even Nick was saying on our daily exercise today, said isn't it nice working with the wafts? And he hasn't even, he's just sat next to us. He's having his own Zoom upstairs with his mates with a beer. So, yeah. Yeah, good. I'm more than delighted with your responses. I really am. So.
Oh, brilliant.
Right.
I look forward to smelling some more and
yeah,
continuing.
Until next time.